All right. 4x4 by 48.
Yes.
Talk to me about this.
Um, so I will say we're not huge David Goggins fans, only because I think it can be a little extreme. Like I think that the message can be a little much, but he kind of came up with this 4x4 by 48 event, which is kind of ironic because I think out of all the things, it's actually one that's approachable, meaning we had people that walked a fair amount of it, and you can still walk 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours. Like you can do it. So I really like it because, I mean, we did train for it. We did it as a fundraiser. Last year, we did it as part of someone else's fundraiser. So we hosted it this year. But, when you do the math, people are like, oh, that's great. And then they realize, like, wait, so what about at night? You're like, yep, like every 4 hours, 4 miles. So we had, midnight, 4 a.m., 8 a.m., etc. But it was awesome. It's a really cool community event and event to challenge people because the running is, of course, hard. I mean,
Yeah.
but it's really, yeah, like getting up. It's inconvenient. It's inconvenient. And I think, not to go on another tangent, but like that I have found is one of those things that kind of gets me. Like people want to do challenging things or they want to work on their mindset, but when it becomes inconvenient, then it's like, oh, I'm out. Like it's only within these situations that like work in terms of what I want. And I think that's where you lose so much opportunity. So it was definitely inconvenient, but we had just such an awesome time. It was 9 people, and that's also funny. Like people say they want to do this stuff, and you end up with 9 people, which it was 9 awesome people, but it wasn't like we were on a wait list for this, which was something that everybody could do. So it was awesome. We raised some good money and for a good cause, and yeah, it was special. So it's too soon to say we'll do it again next year. Give it a couple months and then you like forget. You're like, oh yeah, you just remember the good parts. You don't remember
Yeah.
like 4 a.m. being like, it's raining out, and it rained for one whole day here. Like, so that added. Bill was very pleased with that. My husband, he was like, yes, this is appropriate. It needs to rain. And it was, but it added to the like suck factor, where you're like, I don't want to get out of my sleeping bag. So, but it was great. Yeah.
What did it teach you?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I think this time, this past weekend, um, it taught me a couple of things. I suppose this is sort of cliche, but I think it meant something for me in this time of my life or whatever phase I'm in. Just sort of like, well, I guess it's not really cliche, but you have the choice. We had this question going. Can you choose suffering?
Hmm.
So like, or can you, so like, if you choose suffering, is it really suffering? Or is it like if you embrace it? And um, I think a lot of the mindset when people say that, and I kind of hate that word, but there were a couple of times where I know I can really make things terrible. Like, I hate this. This is, I need, yeah, you're going to be right. Like, it will be as miserable as you decide. And really, that's something I've been kind of working on and just shifting that a little bit and saying, like, getting out of that like rut of just
Hmm.
decide, just knowing you have the control of perception of like what you want the experience to be. And um, that's very powerful in both ways.
Yeah, perception is reality, right? Even if it isn't actuality,
Right.
you can perceive it to be a good thing, a transformative thing. You know,
Yeah.
it's like the legend of Sisyphus, right? You know that one, right?
Yeah. Yes. We actually have a thing called the Sisyphus Gauntlet.
Disgusting.
It's these
What is it?
four 1 hour workouts.
Four
So
1 hour
one is
workouts,
like
yeah.
you push a sled for an hour. They're all very like akin to just pushing. We actually have a statue over there. This guy gave us it. It was like it's Sisyphus. 4 1 hour hill sprints. So you just sprint, repeat, sprint, repeat. There's a carry for an hour, and then there's an hour of burpees. So it is that like just cyclical, like, but that yes, the forever of pushing the rock up the hill, like what you making meaning out of the suffering, I suppose, is like kind of
Yeah.
how you can choose.
Yeah, I really
Yeah.
like is it Albert? I think it's Albert Camus, uh, a French philosopher. He basically said he defied the gods one more time. And you can picture Sisyphus defying the gods if you picture him smiling as he's pushing the rock up the hill.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And he
Yeah.
said
Exactly.
sometimes a struggle alone is enough to fill a man's heart. Mankind, right?
Yes.
People.
Yeah.
And it's funny how you say that, like, can we create our own suffering? Can we create our own struggle? Because I think very similarly, pretty much every day.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, if I'm choosing to do this, it can be hard. Don't get me wrong. It's going to be fucking difficult. Let's be honest.
Yes.
What is it really struggling? I don't know. Like, we've all been thrust into situations where, well, this is completely out of our control. Now we're
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
getting the shit kicked out of us and we're struggling through this.
Right.
But if I'm choosing to do this, is it really struggle? Is it really suffering?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's a good existential question. But yeah, it's there's a book, this woman, Ellen Langer, and she was like a professor, I think either at Harvard or Stanford, either way. And she has this book, The Mindful Body. And it's very like what we all talk about. Like the mind has very big influence on the body. But she did a lot of work with like cancer, research. She did this study called Turn Back Time, where she took men and they went into a home where they recreated their home from like, or life from when they were like younger. And they had them do all the things that they did when they were younger. So like they had to bring their suitcase in, like even if they had to take things one at a time, like this reenactment of youth. And they all came out 3 weeks later or whatever with health markers were better, like
Hmm.
the mental, like that's how, and some of her work with cancer is kind of like we tell people they're in remission. They don't have cancer, but we don't say you are cancer free. We say you're in remission. And just psychologically, what we can really like, what happens with the body when you, yeah, what, the mind having such tremendous control over it. So, for me, it's like workouts are a great way that are accessible or physical things to deal with the really important shit in your life. Like the days you're just like, I'm going to be in my shit and I don't want to get out of it. And it's like, okay, with work or kids or whatever. And so you're sort of like, it's practicing for that, you know? So,
What made you embark on that journey of using fitness, using physical stuff to be able to face yourself mentally?
I mean, when I found CrossFit, that was like 2008. I was like in fitness, but felt sort of like this at the time. I guess that was, you know, I mean, CrossFit was sort of coming to mainstream, but still pretty new. And at the time, the industry was very focused on, reps and sets, bodybuilding,
Yeah.
aerobics, and I enjoyed that stuff. But I did feel like the reason I enjoyed fitness was to help people have this deeper impact on them. And nothing quite had made that connection. And so when I found CrossFit, I thought it was really my first, my level one was like, there is something deeper here. There's
Mm.
something that's asking me to, and I was never really an athlete, I mean, I did skiing and tennis, but it wasn't like, I didn't have that connection to like the body and sport. And um so yeah, I guess that was sort of the start of it, where I was like, this is cool, there's something else here that is about me and my ability, and not just like how I look. um and then I feel like over the years, that's one of my things with CrossFit that I sort of has changed. I think in my experience, like it has become more the known, and we do these things, and I think less exploratory, less curious, less about something bigger, and more about the data and the numbers. So when we kind of realized like that we were hitting a little bit of a road barrier with that, my husband started this Between the Ears company. um, and that was from sort of his experience of sport and military, and having had that in my experience with CrossFit. So, that allowed us to sort of dig even deeper into it, where we're like, hey, let's really embrace that that's what this is about for many people. That this is, yes, you can get healthy, but why not also see it as something, yeah, that can really change the stuff that's happening the other 23 hours of your life outside the hour, in the gym.
And
So
that's the most
yeah.
potent one, right? That's the most potent change by far. By far.
Yeah.
Someone can lose 150 pounds, right? And you're
Right.
like, wow, that's a big difference. Yeah, but what is the difference upstairs between the ears? I love that
Mm-hmm.
name. What is the difference between the ears? Like you can't compare it to anything else. You really
Yeah.
can't. And it really is a special thing. It could be anything. It could be someone dedicating 15 minutes every morning to go for a walk. It could be somebody
Yeah.
doing aqua aerobics. It could be someone doing Peloton or CrossFit. It doesn't really matter. But if you dedicate a consistent amount of time, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm doing it. After work on a Tuesday, I'm doing it. Saturday mornings, I'm doing it. Whatever it is,
Mm-hmm.
I think you get faced with you. I think there's an extra layer that it just unlocks that door and shoves you in there and closes the door behind you and be like, right, it's you and you now. You're like, wait, hold on a minute. That devil that I thought was like somebody else, and they've been following me around, and oh, do re mi. I was like, why do they look familiar? You get a little closer to
Yeah.
them. You pull right up. You're like, they got the same
Yeah.
color eyes. That's a bit weird. And you lean in. You're like, shit, that's actually me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a good chance to take a look at yourself and not judge. I mean, I think that's the thing that it can become a very one-dimensional thing. Uh, in my opinion, some of the fitness stuff has become very much like a beat down. Like there's this one thing, like go hard, crush yourself. That means something about your ability to like endure. And yes, that's one
One
thing
element,
you
yeah.
can extract. I don't think that I don't think that just suffering in the gym all the time means that then you're practicing so that if you have a child that gets ill or like that's now going to have strength in you. I don't think it's so one to one. I think more to your point, like you're learning about, you're observing, you're having a chance to kind of turn on a light and like see what's in the room and just observe your reactions and learn about yourself. It's not so much I'm doing this and that, therefore I am that. Um, because sometimes the hardest thing to do for many people is to just give themselves a break. Like, what if you took a day off? What if you, yeah, went for a walk instead of doing this super hard thing? Like we're all about doing hard things, but then that goes both ways. That might mean taking care of yourself. And there is a psychological impact to what we do physiologically. So if you're always going hard, it could really actually like not be good for you as far as your mental health. It's
Yep.
it's not like I go hard all the time, therefore I'm mentally well. That those two are not just inextricably linked. So yeah, there's a
It's
lot to
accepted
explore.
self-harm, right? That's what fitness is.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
know, it's we've
Ah,
all seen that lad and lady come in anorexic as shit, right? And you're like, wait, hold on a minute. This is the third time I've seen you today. Like, wait, you've done 3 sessions and all three of them you've crawled out of the gym. Like, what are you
I
doing?
know. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
mate, we've probably been there ourselves. I definitely have. You know, and it's like, wait, hold on a minute. Like the work you need to do now is now no longer in the gym. Right, we got you here.
Right.
Yeah, you got yourself here. High five, well done. This is awesome. You're perfecting or pursuing excellence in a lot of different things. Mint, well done. Now piss
Hmm.
off and do it in your own life. You know, the art
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
suffering alone is not enough, mate. You know, I
Yeah.
can't just,
Yeah.
I don't know, sit like
Yeah. There's a,
no, go on.
go ahead. Yeah. No, there's an element also of like, uh, hiding or escaping life. When the gym becomes more of an escape than a place to empower, like then that's what you're describing. This sort of
Yeah.
line gets crossed. It should, I kind of disagree with, I get it. I get the best hour of their day. I get that phrase. But I think that's actually kind of sad. If the gym, and I, there's a wonderful people at the gym and there's community at the gym. And so, yes, it's not just the workout, but I don't know. I don't know if the gym should be the best hour of your entire life, like of your day. I mean, and so for a lot of people, I think it can become this addictive going back for like, well, when I go there, I don't have to think about anything and I can just kind of punish myself and not deal with life. And that is also sort of tricky.
Mm.
And I think not to pick on CrossFit because there's you could look at Soul Cycle that people are spending thousands of dollars a month, and you're like, oh my god, you're just like on this bike. Um, but I think it's sort of more accepted in CrossFit. It's kind of like, yeah, like that that notion of like the person that's always at the classes and doing all the things, and it can kind of fly under the radar a bit, and be perceived as like a positive when it might be unhealthy. But I think that's where just like again, like turning on the lights and just saying, hey, it's not a judgment, but like if you haven't, and I was this person, haven't taken a rest day and like cannot not go into the gym. Like, what is that
Mm.
about? What,
Mm.
because what does it say about me? Well, it doesn't say anything. It says well, it says a lot, but you know, so yeah, there's so much. And I think that's where I'm so glad that like you're doing this work. There's people doing this, but it's less common. And there's a desire, I think, to just separate it. Like, well, this is the body, this is what we're doing, or throw around the word mindset. But I think to date, it's very performative, like an athlete's mindset, games athlete's mindset, but those people's mindset from a professional athlete, like that's not maybe what we as normal people think is, that might not be healthy for us to embrace versus what's my mindset? What can I get from this? What is healthy for me to extract from my fitness practice? So,
Even the mindset of an athlete isn't healthy for them. They've actively
right, right.
chosen that for the performance and the pursuit of the craft, right? If you look at the
Yeah,
lifestyle of an athlete in and out of their role, it's completely different, which means it's not healthy, it's not sustainable. You talk to any athlete,
yeah,
whether it's CrossFit, whether it's not, American football, European football, lacrosse, water polo, whatever, it doesn't matter.
right.
They're like, yeah, I can't do the same stuff in season, off season than I do in season.
Yes,
It's not
yes,
going to happen. It's an unhealthy
yeah,
pursuit. We're pushing the limit of human potential, both upstairs and downstairs. You're not going to be able
yeah,
to do that all the time.
right. Can you pause just 1 second?
Of course.
Sorry for the unprofessionalism. My dog would probably just continue barking forever if I didn't let him in. So,
Hey, you don't have to apologize for
yeah,
unprofessionalism here. I swear like a sailor.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of the whole Michael Phelps, that Weight of Gold documentary, and the gymnasts and even CrossFit Games athletes. So I think maybe we're getting there. I think it's not from a bad place. It's not ill-intentioned, but I think to date people have only associated, when you say mindset, it's like, how do you get better? And so people look at
Performance,
athletes as
yeah.
the best, but it's like, but right, but they're not the best. They're the best at that,
Yeah.
but that's not what's probably not most important for all of us. So yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, right? Like that's how this thing started. Talking in on a microphone and talking to strangers on the internet. It's kind of strange, but like seeing a lot of folk um just not doing well, man. You know, like you see them in the gym, you know, between 60 minutes and about 3.5 hours every evening,
Yeah.
right? Probably six times a week, I'd see people in the gym. And the next thing you know, they're dragging ass on a Monday morning or dragging ass on a Monday evening. I was like, what's happened to you? I was like, oh, I've been on a 2 day bender. I was like, all right, okay, cool, no problem. Next week's the same,
Right.
next week's the same, next week's the same. I was like, why are you always on a 2 day bender? Oh,
Yeah.
that's just
Yeah.
what you do, innit? Like, so you're not enjoying your life, or you've got slash marks on your wrist, or you go into AA meetings again, or whatever it is, right? And you're like, well, we're failing you somehow because you're getting better. You've got your handstand push up. Well done. You should be a better person. You know,
Right.
you
Right.
finally learned how to snatch a barbell. This is incredible. You
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
run 200 meters, and you're like, this is sick. And then you're still, you know, doing white lines on a weekend. What's going on?
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've dropped the ball somewhere.
Yeah.
We dropped the ball
Yeah.
somewhere, mate. So you have to open up that conversation. And I think it goes back to that's where our job becomes a little bit blurred lines, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, speak to anybody outside the industry, and you're going to be the same. You probably had it for many, many years of like, what do you do? That's a great question. Like, well, you teach adult PE, but then
Mm-hmm.
you also have to kind of be a shoulder to cry on and a friend and a bit of a mentor, and then just this like facilitator and sometimes a dictator. You know, and they're like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
so what are you? And I was like, well, I don't know, man. We're still trying to figure this out. You know, then you have
Yeah.
to delegate to people who are a little bit smarter than you are. But I just see it as we have to bring those horses to water. We have to show them where it is,
Yeah.
and we have to empower them to drink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. One of the things that I think is tricky about being a coach or whatever we want to call ourselves, and I think where at least some of the stuff we're trying to do is like fill that hole or that gap. It's great to be able to teach someone skills of how to move their body safely, and that is important. But at a certain point, that is that's one piece. But the human piece, like no one is teaching agency, belief, you know, connection and like connection to self, being seen, heard, acknowledged, how powerful that is for people. And so I think that is where, from a coach, like that is really powerful when people are coming in, because people are coming in, to your point, with a lot of shit.
Oh man.
And they might be having like a shitty day, or they might be so it might be like acute problems. It might be chronic. They might be dealing with, sick kid, sick parent, dying, relative, whatever, losing their job. And I think it's not still within our scope of practice, of course. Like, no, we're not therapists, but there are some things you can extract from understanding therapeutic concepts and how people work and the psychology of it to really empower them. So in a class setting, one of the things we talk a lot about is agency. Agency is like tremendous for people. And often you hear people, oh, just tell me what to do. Tell me what way to do. Tell
Yeah.
me, it's everything from having the person like, well, no, but like, where are you today? Tell me where you are, and accepting that and owning it and being like, yeah, um, there's a lot in that. And I think it's not to say we're going to solve people's problems, but those are the skills, the soft skills, I think, that we're kind of not getting to practice as much. We're not encouraging as much. We kind of like, I don't want to say enable because I don't think that's true, but it's just a lost opportunity to really like coach the human.
Yep.
And again, not to say it's not great to be able to cue and correct and say 10 names and move the class together and all those things. But sometimes that's also for us. Like, I worked for seminar staff, I'm a level 4, all those things. That is like being able to run a class and have it be sexy and name, cue, rep, up, that's kind of for me. That's not for them, I mean, to a degree. And so I think those moments of like being patient, working with people, really having that like time to have them also have some awareness of themselves, that can only help. So for them, when they leave the gym, to stop and be like, oh, yeah, like that felt really good today, to be like, you know what? I'm going to take agency and say like, I'm tired today. I'm not fucking putting more weight on the bar. Good for me. That's far more powerful than like, yeah, like go heavier, go harder. Like you can do it, like there's a time and a place, but I don't know. So
That's why I love shifting gyms, and shifting places and countries and cities and all that, because it's in the forefront of my mind of like, oh, I only have 3 months to help these people. Or I only have a year to help these people.
yeah,
Or, I might only see them once. So I'm like, how can I plant a seed for them to go home with water? Rather than like,
that's
I'm gonna
awesome.
hold everybody's hand and be everybody's fucking daddy. It's like, no, like
Yeah,
you can figure this out. You're a fucking adult. You're probably more educated than me. You'll be all right. It's yeah, here's the water, guys. Asking questions. Coach, what weight should I
yeah,
do? You tell me.
right.
Well, isn't that your job? I was like, no, my job is to teach you, not tell
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I really like that. I think you get comfortable with like seeing people all the time, having a little urgency of like, if I had to help, what could I do today to actually really help this person and make an
Yeah,
impact?
yeah,
And that also, I get it. Like people burn out, coaches are coaching a lot. Like it's hard, but like it also is a lot more invigorating to see people like, how can I make one really like connect with someone today? I think
yeah,
that goes a long way. Like it's not going to be every day, everybody every day. Like, okay, in this class, who needs that? Who can I connect with? That's like invigorating much more probably than just kind of going through the class plan. Like, okay, I ended class on time. Great.
yeah. Well done.
Gold star,
Yeah, that's kind of the barrier to entry. Yeah, the
Right,
class
right,
plan, you've hit it on time. Yeah, you've facilitated everything. Well done. But have you
right, right.
coached the human being in front, right? That's why I'm quite intentional about not using the word trainer or instructor,
Yeah.
right? I hate those words, man. Like it's probably a really pet peeve, but like trainers
Yeah,
and
trainers train dogs. Like you
exactly
train a dog.
they
Yeah,
stand
yeah,
there, they do their thing, they do it really well, and there's a time and a place for it. But it's like
yeah,
coaching, it's that weird, gooey, soft thing that kind of changes. It's malleable. It's like Play-Doh. It's like that's the real good stuff right there. That's what I signed up
yeah.
for. So don't call me a trainer.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Mate,
I won't. I won't.
I got 3 questions.
Yeah.
What's the greatest piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh my gosh. Um, geez, that is a tough one. Um, I mean, maybe not the single greatest piece of life advice, but one of the things that I like really try to remember at the core and like teach my kids, and like one of the major tenets is just like circulates around just honesty, like being honest with yourself, being like I think there's a lot of trouble that comes from when you start denying and not coming from a place of like honesty, whether it's because you need help, honesty and communication, like that's really like such an important thing. Like always be honest. I mean, that might be a little thin, but like that is, I think, really important for me to live by. Yeah.
What's the worst piece of life advice you've ever received?
Oh boy. Go hard or go home, maybe. No, yeah, like it's probably something in that vein. Because I've done that, and it's like, and that didn't work. It's
Yeah.
just it's kind of actually exactly the opposite of honesty. It's like, don't listen to how you feel. Don't be honest with yourself. Just put on the pretend thing, fake it till you make it, kind of, and that can steer you wrong.
Yeah, it can dig you a bigger hole. I think
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's a tool in a toolbox. We need to know it's there. We need to be able to
absolutely.
pull it out. And sometimes you're gonna have to shut the fuck up and get the work done. But it's
Yeah,
not all the time.
sure.
That
It's
can't be
not, it
our
should not
first.
maybe be your daily mantra.
No, no, no. It's
Yeah,
like it's gonna get you quite far, and then you're gonna break, and then it's probably
yeah,
gonna reverse all that progress that you just did. So good luck.
yeah,
Maybe we have to learn the lesson the hard way. I don't know. Humans are a
yeah.
little bit stubborn. Last question. What are the 3 words you would tell your younger self?
Hmm. Three. That's four.
You want an extra one?
um, no. Um, it might be like, you are okay. You are okay. And I think that's something I tell myself now, like, just like, it's okay. And I think just that's sort of connected to the piece about honesty. Like sometimes just like, yeah, you don't need to be different. You don't need to change. You will be okay, like as is. And change is important and growth and all of that, but I think acceptance first needs to happen, and then from there you can sort of build off of that. um, and I think it took me still work in progress, but taking me a long time to, acceptance has definitely been a big one for me in many ways. And that is where working out and listening to yourself and being honest, it's a great practice of acceptance, accepting like maybe today's not the day. And I think that piece took a long time to kind of to get to. So yeah.
Mate, thank you so much.
I
This has
like,
been an
yeah,
honor and a
awesome,
privilege,
this
mate.
was so great. Cool.
Mate,
Well, we'll have to just keep exchanging resources and thoughts, and thank you for asking and having me on.
I'm here for it, mate. There's always a seat at this table. You can always talk some shit and shop with me. That's all. That's always
Perfect.
all right. And I'll let you know whenever I'm cruising around the
Yeah.
states. I'm not doing
Yeah, you
that
can
four
come
by four
guest
by
coach.
4x8. I'm not doing it.
Okay. Yeah, we will make you.
I will. I will guest coach. Yes,
Perfect.
but
Okay.
no running for me. Thank you very much. I'll do some Bible stuff,
Sounds good.
mate.
Perfect. You can do that.
You have a great
All
day, and
right.
we'll speak soon.
You too. Okay.
Thank
Thanks.
you, boss. See you later, everybody.
Bye.